The Mets' underperformance has been, one of the biggest storylines of the year, X. Yeah. But they've won 5 in a row. They just beat Arizona. Your thoughts on the Mets now?
It's been disappointing up until this point. They're playing some of their best baseball. They've got their first opportunity to win 6 in a row since September 15th of last year. So you're talking about a team that's playing some good baseball. It's because the stars have started to step up. You see Francisco Lindor yesterday, a 5-for-5 game, going out there, even while he's been sick, still playing the best baseball that he's playing. To me, it's been a little bit of the hitting has all clicked at the same time now, along with the pitching. Cookie Carrasco getting one of his probably the best start he's had all season. Justin Verlander had a good start last time. He'll be back out on the mound tonight. And then I look at the young player in a Francisco Alvarez, who's behind the plate, doing a great job defensively, starting to come into his own as a hitter. 16 home runs already. He's on pace for 30 homers as a young rookie. And then Pete Alonso, 26 homers. He's coming into his own as well from a power hitting standpoint. You're starting to get one thing that you haven't had all season long. Everybody clicking at the right time. There's too much talent on this team for them not to have a stretch of good baseball. They're starting to get it right now. And they just swept one of the best teams in baseball in the D-backs.
And they've been a fascinating study all year because not only are they the #1 payroll of all time,
right,
they also were a very tight unit last year. There was team spirit. The group dynamic was excellent. It has seemed to be lacking this year. This is the billion-dollar question. Can you explain how that happens to teams that were so good one year and lose their way?
It's a thing to where almost like you expect to do the same thing just naturally,
right,
but every year is different, right? Even though they have a lot of the same personnel, you still have a different type of chemistry with this team. And honestly, I think they're just now starting to feel that. You now have the consistency of having Justin Verlander, who won the Cy Young last year. You saw him pitch well. That gives everybody else confidence as well. I'd love the one thing, too, is the back of the bullpen. You look at Edwin Diaz as a guy that they lost early. Guys had to step up. They've started to step up now in those situations. So when you're starting to get everything going a little bit, it seems like the chemistry and confidence can pick up, and you start taking that from game to game.
You know, with Diaz in the bullpen, all the failure, did an essay on it on MLB Now this week. The starting pitching could have bailed out the bullpen. It didn't. The hitting could have bailed out the bullpen. It didn't. So it left the bullpen there, no Diaz.
Right.
They also only spend 10% of that huge payroll on the bullpen. So I think when they signed Diaz, they thought, we've got this covered. He goes down. They were kind of left bare out there in the bullpen.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing is when you have a bullpen that isn't what you expected or isn't the same as last year, hitting has to make up for that. And this isn't a huge power team, right? You look at the Braves. Carlos just talked about the Braves. They're different in a way that they can change the course of a game with one swing. This is not the Mets team that can do that besides Pete Alonso pretty much. So stringing together hits, having a good approach at the plate, the offense had to supplement a lot of that loss from the bullpen.
When I looked at the production, I had to say, if I'm looking at it dispassionately, the Padres, I would bet more on the Padres to have a better second half than the Mets. You agree or disagree with that?
That's a tough one for me because I feel like the Mets have an opportunity now because this is a team that we've seen that has the talent. The Padres you can say the same for the Padres, but I still look at the Mets in this division. I think they have a better opportunity to beat up on some of these teams with the talent that they have from a pitching standpoint.
I know this, Arizona being good, right? Miami not being bad, right? Arizona being good.
Yeah.
And now the Reds are good in this mix.
Kind of switched up a little bit.
Right, and not only teams happening more organically, but now you're not just 6.5 out of the wild card. You got to pass 4 or 5 teams.
Right.
It's a lot harder. The world order in the National League changed.
And I think we're starting to see kind of what these teams look like concretely because think about how many changes we had early on in the season with all the rules. I think now you're starting to see teams figure out how to take that advantage of all those rules, get used to it, feel comfortable. Now we're starting to see teams. This is about the time, too, where you really evaluate your team and see what you have. I think we're starting to see the true aspect of some of these teams.
It's been 3 days since I did Malaise watch for the National League team, so I don't have that bad air coming out of Canada, wildfires, all that. But anyway.